Hi everyone and welcome to a special Broken Meeple video. Yes, a lot of you have cried out for this one because you've been seeing me assembling them, but this is another Folded Space sponsored video. I did one a while back where Folded Space very kindly send me some inserts every now and again because I'm a big insert fan and I do get behind Folded Space stuff a lot because they're easy to assemble. They take a bit of time like with other inserts, but they're relatively easy to put together. They're cheap, which is always a good thing for inserts because you don't want to spend too much building out your game, but they do the job of helping out with quick setup, easy play, and a decent takedown as well. And so as you can see, I got quite a few here to go over, including Wingspan, which I forgot to go over in the last video. So the last video I actually missed one out, so I'm going to make up for it here. So I got Zyre, War of the Ring, Isle of Cats, Abyss, Nemesis Kickstarter version, Barenpark, Rajas of the Ganges, and Wingspan. I gotta go over all of these. I'm basically going to give you a kind of diagonal top-down view of the insert as I talk. So this is the last time this video that you will see my ugly face, and I'm sure a lot of you will be pleased for that. So I'm going to sign off now and show you close up how these inserts work, and talk a little bit about how easy they were to put together, how much of a difference they make to the setup and the takedown, etc., and give you a kind of quick fire verdict as to which ones I recommend you should get and which ones you might be able to pass on if you're a bit short of cash. So that's it for me. It's only a game, and we'll see you on the next shot. Okay, hopefully this is a decent look on the table. I gotta make do with the lack of space I have around here. But I'm going to do something a bit more interesting with this one. I'm going to go in ascending order of which ones I like best. So I'm going to start off with the ones that I like the least, and then move my way up through a sort of on-the-fly ranking of which ones I think are best going forward. So this is the start off, the one that I think is probably not the best one that I've come across really, and that is for Rajas of the Ganges. Now this one I was kind of struggling to comprehend why it would need an insert.
I don't get it. You uncultured swine!
This one has a very basic insert. In fact, a lot of it isn't even used. So here, rulebook and boards sit on top pretty easily in essentially a catch-all there. But that's the insert. That's all it is. Not a lot there, is there, really? I mean, this is literally just a holding point. So that entire bit of the box isn't used. Okay, whatever. You've got some basic trays to hold player pieces. Okay, you can just give each person a player piece, but then you could just give them a bag. That really didn't speed things up much. You've then got the different dice held in their individual cases. Okay, that's a little bit more interesting. That can come in handy. And the tokens you can just put in whatever spot you really like. Now this is designed to hold the Goody expansion, whatever it is, Goody expansion 1. I don't actually own that. So I'm literally just going from base game here. But this insert doesn't really do a huge amount to improve the setup from what you already had. Now, it speeds it up a little bit, and it is definitely one of the cheapest inserts they've done, so I gotta give them a little bit of props for that. But the only bit that's really a speed up is this. The fact that you can have the tiles by their, their color and their type. So this is the tiger one, and this is the bull, or was it the bull one? Yeah, here we go, the bull setup, and down there is the snake. But this one's empty because this is meant to hold the mango trees or whatever they're called, from the Goody expansion, and I don't have it. So this expansion really isn't doing a lot for me with just the base game. It's cheap and it's nice, but that's it. That's kind of it. Granted, I can store this on its side if I want vertically. That's about the only thing I can do with it. But even then, I'd be a little bit hesitant because the boards sit on top of here, but I am not certain that they hold things that well to store it vertically. So it's cheap. It was relatively easy to assemble, although the one thing I don't like on Folded Space inserts, and I know there's only so much you can do about it, but these little bits that you have to put on at the very end, I don't know if I can show them off there, but these bits on the end, these tiny little bits and those sort of things, I hate putting those on because they're really fiddly. You've got to be really sort of dexterous with the glue, you've got to put them in the right place, leave them to dry, do not move them around at all, you need to make certain they're dry. And they can just be a bit of a bugbear to put together. So when you've got to put together 4 of these trays, that's a little bit irritating. But yeah, this one is kind of like a meh. insert. If you are a big fan of Rajas of the Ganges and you have the Goody expansion, then this could be one to go for because it is cheap. Dirt cheap, gotta give them that. And it doesn't take a long time to put it together, minus that bit I mentioned. But yeah, I don't think this game really warranted an insert. I mean, were people really crying out for this one? I don't really feel like this one was needed. So, as I say, I recommend it if you want it with the expansion and you've just got some spare money and it's cheap. But yeah, this insert I just wasn't desperate for. Okay, it's there, whatever. I'm not going to take it out, but I just don't feel I was going to get it in the first place. Okay, now let's move on to, let's see, next one in the ranking system would probably be this one. Yeah, probably this one. The Isle of Cats insert. Now, the Isle of Cats is a really cool game, really welcoming game, but the insert for this, is it that needed? I'm not sure, really, because, you know, they've got a new box that came out with the recent Kickstarter, but even then, I don't know if that was needed, because it seemed like that was quite pricey. But this sits on top, you've got obviously the cat box, and this is effectively what you get. So the fish tokens can be kept in a little cradle, the various cat oshits tokens or whatever they're called are in there, and then you've got, you know, another case for fishies that you want to give out. You've got cases for the different colour cats. Was that really necessary? I'm not sure that was needed, really. But the main thing it does do, which is half decent, is that it keeps the treasure tiles separate, but then you're going to, you know, that's about it, really. That's kind of all it's doing. You know, do I really need a separate cubby hold for the purple and orange cats and things like that? That doesn't seem overly necessary. I mean, were people really problematic with that? And the thing is, most of the stuff you have goes in the bag. And this is me compressing it down quite a bit. So you've got to really make sure it's flat before you can get it in the bag with everything else. Boards sit underneath, so I'll take the bag out for now. It's got everything in it. But the boards basically sit underneath, and you've got to put them in this weird fashion where some of the boards are here and then some overlap to here in order for things to balance on. I mean, 10 out of 10 for ingenuity and innovation with the design, you know, especially with these trays where if I take one out, here we go. If I take one out, it's got like an extra bit of a bottom on here. So try to show it. Yeah, it's an extra bit there so that it can sit in the overlap part of the trays down here. So that's quite ingenious, I'll give it that. But this basically holds the cards separate, so at least I can keep things like the solo mode and the family mode away, and then just keep the other cards all together. There's a bit of extra space because I think there's some cards I don't have. I think one of the Kickstarter editions I don't have, so I don't have those cards. The question is this going to hold up when the new expansion comes out, though? That's the thing. I mean, you're going to have the new kittens to fit somewhere. You're going to have to fit the new cards in. I think the new cards should fit in here, particularly if you don't sleeve the game, because I don't think this is a game worth sleeving. So there's just far too many cards, really. But you know, when you're trying to put a deck of all these cards sleeved, it's a bit of a nightmare. So, you know, with the unsleeved cards, you might be able to fit it in here. Certainly, I don't feel like you need to have a separate tray for the different color cats, so you can mix some of these together and use it to hold some of the new components. It's going to be touch and go, really. This is the slight problem I have with this. You know, the insert is fine. I don't think it's saving me a great deal of time in terms of the setup and takedown. But the other worry is that, you know, with an expansion on the way, will this insert cater for it? Because I don't think you can just simply update this one. And considering what weird design they had to do with these in order to get the cards in there, I don't know if it's going to work with, what was it called? Kittens, or is it just a module thing? I don't know. But yeah, if you're just going to get the base set of this, then this insert could do well for you. But I would just be a little bit wary if you're planning to get this with like everything. You know, it will hold all the Kickstarter stuff from the first Kickstarter, but with the new Kickstarter, a little bit worrisome. So the Isle of Cats is decent, but I don't think it's like really improving it to a great extent. Now those two are probably the ones that I'm like, not desperate for the insert. From now on, these inserts are pretty good. They just range in order of how much I think they're worth it. So the next one I'm going to go for is a big one. Big one. And that is, here we go. Jam box. The War of the Rings.
Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
Now this one is a little lower on the list for me, mainly because I don't own all of it. So this can cater for the first two expansions, Warriors and Lords of Middle-earth. I don't have any of those. I only have the base set. And considering how infrequently, how rarely I'm going to play this game, I don't feel like I need to get the expansions to this. Although I am considering getting the Lords of Middle-earth. And Ares have also said they're doing another expansion later this year, so Lord knows whether that will fit in here as well. That's another concern. But this one does a reasonable job. I've got a bit of wasted space in here because of dealing with expansions that I don't have, but this one was a pretty easy one to put together because it's mostly just a bunch of card cases and a lot of like big rectangular boxes, so you don't have a lot of fiddly aspects to do. The two boards go nicely in here, so they sit and stay pretty secure, so that's easy enough to take out. And this is what you get for the insert. So as you can see, there's a lot of space in these where I've got cards, because I don't own a lot of the game. So these are sleeved. I have no question that sleeved cards will fit separate because I've only got the base set, so it's easy. But, you know, these are quite handy to have. You know, you've got a tray for tokens, you've got a tray for dice, and these two are completely empty because they're meant to hold the Warriors of Middle-earth stuff, and I don't have any of that. So they just basically keep everything there. But, what the hell? It's something for the future. But the stuff that you have is basically to hold the different types of miniatures. Now, previously I was holding each one in a separate bag, so I don't know how much better it is for me to have a tray, but I guess it's easier, it's cleaner. It looks nicer on the table to have a tray. But the advantage I have with my models, and granted, I think you should do this with yours as well, is that I have stickered mine. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but I've got stickers on the bottom of my miniatures here. So orange there for the Rohan, I believe. I got a green one here for elves, and then here I've got like purple for the North or whatever, you know, the elephant dudes. Black for Mordor. Yeah, so, and I've got the separate people, the Fellowship and that. So everybody's got their own tray. It's very easy to put together though, and it does make things a lot more organized. I mean, you can just have the trays along the side of the board for all the different types of armies, and that is the hardest thing to do in this game, is to distinguish the different types of units, particularly with the human races. But tray for all the dice, nice and easy. Tray for all the tokens, nice and easy. There's another one in there for, see if I can get it out, nice and simple. There we go, for the hunt tokens and some of the other miniatures. So if you've got the base set only, this will hold it, no questions asked. I can't comment on whether this will hold Warriors of Middle-earth easily, although to be honest, if everything, this is what these two boxes are for. So assuming that this is all you need, I don't see why it couldn't hold the Warriors of Middle-earth expansion. It's got space for it. And then with these, how did I put these in again? Now I've got to remember, but with those ones, you know, the base set holds in fine, and Lords of Middle-earth I think just gave you cards. Well, yeah, I mean, these are half full, and these are practically like not full at all, and these are all sleeved. So I have no question that even with Sleeve Kings doing the job for me on this one, that it would hold both expansions. Will it hold the newest one though? That remains to be seen. So if you are a die-hard follower of War of the Ring and you're thinking of getting this because you own everything to date, maybe do some research and find out whether the new the new expansion is going to cause a bit of a problem for you. That's why it's a little bit lower down on the rankings. But, and also the fact that because I only own the base game, this only does so much for me. But still, I think this is a pretty decent insert. And I'm glad it's in there, but like I say, whether you need it or not is entirely up to you. But I still think it's good. As I say, the first two I talked about were the ones that I was a bit like, these weren't really needed. I still think this one was needed. It's just got limited use for me because I don't own all of it.
Stupid fat hobbit.
Next up, I'm going to go with, I think, the one I missed out from the previous video.
We're sorry.
I do have the Oceania box storing other bits, the Oceania boards, because I'm still in two minds as to whether I want to play always with Oceania or still keep both so I can teach new players easier. But I keep the extra boards in there. But Wingspan I forgot to talk about before, so let's solve that problem this time. So Wingspan, this has European and Oceania, but not the other boards in there because this one has the base set boards in here. So boards sit on the top, pad, get the rest of the boards out. So these are the base set boards, not a problem. And here we have Wingspan. Now I really need to get this replaced because this one is broken for me, so I don't really even use the top bit of this, so I need to get myself a plastic or wooden Wingspan replacement. There's so many to choose from and I just can't be asked to spend 20 quid on a dice tower. But, you know, we'll go with it at some point. But here, pretty standard setup, but it does the job nicely. You've got a massive tray that you build here, which is pretty easy to put together. It's got some of the fiddly bits on the end that keep the cards in that I've talked about before, but it's one big tray. And once you bake this tray, you've kind of made most of this insert. This is a surprisingly quick insert to put together. But these will hold all the cards sleeved. So every single card here is sleeved with sleeve kings, and they all fit in here with room to spare. Bonus cards, all the different expansions. I've got enough room to separate the expansions, so I can go, right, here's the base set, here's European, which I tend to throw in every game anyway, but I could also separate out the Oceania birds, especially the ones that use the nectar resource. So if I don't want to teach the Oceania nectar specific stuff, I can leave those out. Plenty of room for sleeved cards. Dice tower sits in there, and I think, yep, the dice are in there, the big dice are inside there. And then for everything else, it's just a nice little tray. So you've got 2 big depth trays to hold all the eggs, and that is all the eggs to date. Nectar resource is down there. You can see the pink little tokens here. And then everything else has just got a nice little easy rectangular tray. Nothing particularly difficult. They just come in different shapes and sizes. But I quite like this one to hold my... And I will say, I've got custom pieces for this. So I've got these little plastic bird houses I got from somebody on Etsy, and you know, they hold in there nicely. They'll easily hold your cubes. I've got plastic replacements for most of the food, not the nectar, but most of the food. They hold in there nicely, and you've got 2 trays. So you've got this tray to give to 2 players and this tray to give to another 2 players, so that you can keep them spread out across the table. But yeah, even with pimped out components, this insert does a fine job, and it definitely does speed the setup up, because once I got the cards out of there, I can just pull these trays out for the resources, done. No horrible baggies. I can separate out the cards to my heart's content, and the boards will sit in there nice and easy. The question is, though, is that obviously some of you might have replaced the boards with the new Oceania ones, in which case, fine, you don't even need the Oceania box. You can just literally have everything in this box. But if you're like me and you kept the boards for both sets, including the base set, you might find that you are going to need the Oceania box to hold the rest. And that's all this box holds. This one basically holds the new score pad and the Oceania boards. That's it. That's it. But you will not be able to fit all the boards in the main box. But really, who are you kidding if you thought you could do that anyway? So, Wingspan, pretty solid insert. I didn't talk about it a lot last time. Sorry about that, but giving it its dues now. This is a solid insert, easy to put together, and one definitely worth considering. So, definitely, oh yeah, Seal of Endorsement and that, yeah. First 2 I probably wouldn't give a Seal of Endorsement, but I'll give a Seal of Endorsement to the War of the Ring, and I'll give a Seal of Endorsement to this one as well. Right, now we're going to move on to an insert which is definitely needed, but there is a strong caveat with it, and it doesn't annoy me enough to discount it too much, but I can understand why others might have a problem, and to be fair, this is more of a blame on the publisher rather than Folded Space, and that is Barenpark. This one really does need an insert to speed up the setup, because having everything in bags to begin with just doesn't really work. You know, it takes a long time to get the tiles out of the bags if you've separated them, then get them into stacks and everything. It's like, oh god, I gotta do this. Well, Barenpark makes life a bit easier, but with a caveat. Notice the box lid here. Yeah, it's not flush by a fair long shot. Not enough for the lid to fly off at a moment's notice, but it will not go flush. And the reason for that is because this holds the expansion Bad News Bears, which includes those monorail towers. That's the problem. Here, the board is actually sat on top of the insert, and the insert is flush with the lid. So this already has to be an extra bit on top, but it's a very easy insert to put together, with the exception of, I think, well, these trays weren't too bad. Yeah, these trays weren't too bad, but you've got those little bits on... Oh, sorry. Yeah, these little trays weren't too bad, but you've got these little bits on the end. Like I said, they're quite fiddly, so I'm a little bit like, ho-hum on that. But apart from that, the insert is pretty easy to put together, and this was one of the faster ones I've done. But this is the thing. It does a good job for speeding up the setup and takedown, but the caveat is these monorails are a bit fiddly to put in. So you've got these cool trays for the various different house tiles. So you could stack them in in ascending order if you like, or you could just put them in willy-nilly. Big tray here for the sizable tokens before. And then the thing with this is that you do have to be a little bit careful about how you put these in. You kind of have to arrange the tokens in the sense that you go like tile, 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 like do it in a kind of ring fashion so that the big tiles are not sitting on top of every single other tile. You want to be efficient with the space as much as possible. It's not so much a problem with this one, but it's definitely more apparent with this one. Because if you just stack them up willy-nilly, they will not fit in here properly. You have to be efficient with the space. That can be a little bit irritating to do, but basically whoever owns this insert should be the one packing this bit away. But at least they're in there. And then you've got these, which is a little bit weird, this one actually. I mean, I like the one below it. One below it is great. Designed in such a way that you can hold the river tiles nice and easily, as well as the food courts. The one below it is kind of odd. You essentially use it to hold the 2 tiles and 5 of the towers unassembled. Okay, that's kind of weird. That's a little weird, that one. Here you got more of the house tiles, and then underneath you've got the monorail tile. You've got the monorail tiles as well as the bear statues and the toilets. All the tiles for the park sit there nice and flat, so that's an easy inclusion. And this massive box here is essentially holding every single objective tile. And there's quite a lot of them by the time you get to this point in the game. But here's the catch, and I really want to be careful here. You see these monorail bits here. You have to basically balance a bunch of them in such a way that they're stacked like that if you want them to be assembled. Because trust me, you do not want to put these things together every single game. It's an absolute pain. But the rules for the folded space bit, I don't know if this will focus on it much, but essentially it sort of tells you how to stack it there. So you've got instructions on how to do this, but this is, seriously, Mayfair, look out, Spiel. Did you not think to give us a bigger box for this thing? Seriously.
Hello? Hello, anybody home?
Yeah, Folded Space have done a fantastic job with the little space they have to do this. And granted, I love the fact that these tiles are now in nice little bits and I can get rid of those bags. This does speed the setup for this game tremendously, particularly if you're only playing the base set. But, these monorail tiles having to be like this. Seriously, why do publishers not put a bigger box to hold everything when they print out an expansion? Bad News Bears as well. It was a stupid name. It was a stupid, stupid sized box. It was really a disappointing sort of display by them, really. But as I say, Folded Space have done what they can with the limited space available, and I think they've done a solid job. So even with those limitations of having to have the lid not flush and that, I would sooner have this than storing the game with 2 separate boxes, because I hate the idea of having to store this with 2 separate boxes. Of course, it does make putting this back in the game a little bit on the tough side, shall we say, because trying to get it in with the monorails still in place is, fiddly to say the least, because it sort of catches on the side. And as you can see, I'm having a bit of trouble here trying to keep the monorails in one place.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Right, that's in properly now. Basically, the best way is that you have to take out this row and then put the box in and then put the rest of the monorails in there to fit. But as I say, the Folded Space have had to do what they can with basically a bad situation that is given to them by Lookout, Spiel and Mayfair games. So this box will not sit flush. You're just going to have to accept it, but I'd rather keep it like this than keep it in 2 separate boxes. So, like I say, it's a bit of a pain, but Folded Space have done a good job with what they were given, so I still give this a seal of endorsement. I still think it's a pretty solid insert overall, but seriously, Lookout, Spiel, you've been warned, alright? Put bigger expansion boxes next time. Seriously.
This is not over!
Let's get on to the really juicy stuff. I mean, the ones where, you need these inserts badly. Badly, badly, badly. We're going to talk about one of my favorite games, Abyss. This is one of the newest ones that they've released, and yes, Abyss really needed an insert because everything was in baggies. It took a little while to set everything up, and you couldn't separate stuff easily. But now, voila, Abyss. So I've pimped mine up with a couple of little components, so there's a little bit of addition here. But this one, insert wise wasn't too bad to put together. Let's say take out the boards, you can even have the original monster track. So there's a little bit of fiddliness to a little bit of this insert. Like you've got this like triple layered dividers with the cards, which is handy because it means you can get your finger in there nicely in order to get the cards out, which is a nice touch. But of course you've got to, you know, deal with that when you're gluing it together. But this is a much better insert, and as you can see, I have pimped it out with the special sleeves from Bombix and everything, so I've done everything I can here. But basically, this kind of reminds me a bit of the Rajas of the Ganges bit, because you only need so much space in here in order for to do the insert. But these bits here are basically a mirror image of each other, and you don't even have to glue these, you just put them together and they'll sit there. So there's half the insert already done for you. But trays go in here, miniatures go in these cubbyhole bits here, and all the locations can go in here, with the loot deck ones I specifically exclude from the game at the very bottom, so I never have to draw them out. As well as the one location that says search through the deck to find another location. Hate that one, I house ruled that out because I think it's overpowered if you know what you're doing, and a massive time sink if they don't know what they're doing. So I don't like that location. But here though, you've got what this game badly needed. Trays. Trays for everything. So trays for the pearls, nice and simple. Trays for the various tokens and dice, nice and simple. Trays for keys and wound tokens. Trays for the different like monster tokens. So they've got a separate one, which is kind of weird, but you can basically separate them out. So there's the new ones from Leviathan, and right below them, which you may or may not be able to see, or be careful, is the monster tokens for the base set. And then in here, you just simply have the cards. There's the little cards here, and then underneath is a tray for the loot deck cards, which I can say I never use. I think it's the worst part of the expansions, so I just keep them at the bottom there, and they never have to come out of the box again. But the little cards sitting there nicely, and the big cards sitting here nicely, so nicely done. This game will store vertically, I know for a fact, because I do store this one vertically. And underneath, here we go, come on, get in, get your fingers in there, Luke, your big fat fingers in there, and you've got a tray for the Leviathans. The best expansion to get for this, but the Leviathans. Now, one caveat I do have to mention with this set is the card sleeves that you use, because they will have a slight impact. Although, I must admit, as I open this box now, that's kind of been lessened a bit. If you're using normal sleeves, like normal sleeves that you typically get, like Sleeve Kings and Fantasy Flight ones and all that lot, you should be fine. They fit in there and it's all good. I'm using the special stuff from Bombix. These are thicker, they're a lot more textured than that. And when I first put them in, because they kind of rise up, they don't like stack fully flush down when you put them on the table, they were kind of overlapping the insert a little bit. And these Lord ones still kind of do. Like a couple of the cards are a little bit on the, yeah, they kind of sit on the top. But the Leviathan ones seem to be pretty good now, and these ones have kind of settled down a bit. And I think it's just, you need to apply a little bit of pressure. You need to get them in this insert, store it away, and then as time goes on, these will flatten down and get a bit more, like, less bulky. So it just takes a little bit of time for that. But that's a very small niggle, and that's only going to affect a niche group of people like me who have pimped this game out to the extent of getting these sleeves. But honestly, it's minor anyway. I mean, I store this vertically, and when I open the box, these are where they're meant to be, even though that one or two don't quite go right in between the walls of the case. So, big deal, really. It's not really a massive thing. So, but this just makes setup such a breeze. You pull out the trays, that's it. I don't need to do anything. I mean, you can take out the cards and give them a little shuffle and then put them back in the trays if you like. The tokens should already be mixed up from your last game. These, you just literally leave them in there until you need them if necessary. The trays, the locations, you could have these face down in the box, and then as soon as somebody says, I need a location, you just draw them out of the box. So do it however you like. This is brilliant. Very easy to put together, and it just does a great job of making one of my favorite games that much more easier to bring out. So yeah, the only thing that makes me a little sad is that I don't desperately need this bag anymore. Although you could take the tokens out of there and put them in a bag like this so that you can draw them out of there, the monster tokens I'm referring to. So that's entirely up to you. But like I say, that's just a niche little thing that I have to deal with as opposed to anything else. Score pad in there. Get the rule books out again. So rule books in there nicely. I think that bag is in the wrong, well, like I say, normally this bag shouldn't be in there, so there we go, put it down there. Rulebook, Abyss, and it sits pretty flush. Yeah, pretty flush. You know, not terribly like instant flush, but yeah, flush enough. So yeah, definitely, if you are a fan of Abyss and you have both expansions, I certainly don't recommend this insert if you only have the base set, because you're kind of missing out on a lot of stuff that the insert holds. But if you've got the complete Abyss set and your copy is as worn out as my one because I brought out so much, then yeah, definitely want this insert. This is a Seal of Distinction level insert, definitely one to get.
We saw being friends.
Two more, and we're going to go on to, the second best. Who's going to get the second best spot? I think that's going to be this monster of an insert. Nemesis, the Kickstarter Nemesis insert.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey.
Wow, this took me a long time to do, guys. This was hard. Not hard because it was like a complicated insert. I mean, none of these inserts were particularly fiddly, except maybe that Rajas the Ganges one, and well, it's at the bottom of the list for a reason. But this one just took a long time because you've got it in 2 packs. You've got one that you buy for Nemesis base set stuff, but then you've also got one that you buy to house all the Kickstarter expansions. And I went all in. If you checked out my acquisitions video, depending when that comes out compared to this, yeah, I went all in. So, that was a lot of insert making. But you essentially have 2 boxes now. So if you've got everything all in, you will hold everything in this and this. With some exceptions. You're obviously not going to get the playmat in here, and you're obviously not going to get those untold stories and those little weird additions in there, but you're going to get base set, you're going to get Carnomorphs, you're going to get Aftermath, you're going to get Void Seekers. Was there another one? I can't remember. Probably not, but you also won't get the terrain expansion in here, so the other box for that, you're just going to have to keep that separate, but that's 3D terrain. Come on, give Folded Space a break here. So, let's see what we got in here. So let's take this Aftermath one first. Whoop. And it comes. So you can have all the rule books for Aftermath and Void Seekers and the extra board. I think, which one, what did this come with? Is that a Carnomorph board? I forget. As I say, I haven't had a chance to sit down and really play this in a great deal of detail, so I'm a little bit like, hazy. But most of this is big trays to hold miniatures, and that's kind of the most fiddly part of this insert. Not putting it together, it's putting the minis in some of these cubby holes, and that's down to the miniatures just being lots of spindly bits and that everywhere. There were a few times where I'm like, so I've got to put these particular guys in here, and it's like, in there, come on, and you got to like twist them around in a certain way, like somebody's legs sticking out and getting in the way. That is a thing, but that's down to the miniatures, not to the insert. The insert does a fantastic job here. So here I've got various cards, which I think that's like the Carnomorph cards. I haven't sleeved these yet, but I have no doubt that this can hold sleeve cards. They have confirmed that this can hold sleeve cards, but as you can see, all the space in the world. So I'm pretty positive that when I sleeve these cards, they will be just fine. But here, this box is mainly holding miniatures. So you got a few cases for tokens, so you can keep certain tokens that don't get used very often out of the way. Or, to be more frank, and this is what this setup, that is what this insert does best. It's not a case of, oh, I can just hold the miniatures nice and neat. It's the fact that your setup time is so much better. Oh my word, if you don't have an insert like this when you're setting up Nemesis, you're in trouble. But this basically holds a bucket ton of miniatures. So some of the new characters, you've even got like a weird, like, I mean, this is like the little bit of wasted space part down here, but there's a little bit to hold the egg timer, which I thought was quite neat. But everything here is just basically miniatures, miniatures, miniatures. This giant case here for like the big Void Seeker Queen that's in there. It's like she's got a case all to herself. Another case here for miniatures. And this, let's see, can I take this big thing out? Yep, so I mean, like I say, the insert is easy to put together because most of it is just big rectangular square boxes. But that's the thing. You need a lot of these boxes in here because of what this game entails. So this is kind of like the big miniature storage box for the expansion stuff. But like I say, miniatures, miniatures, miniatures. And this is one, like, oh God. Now, this is the slight fiddly thing with this. You have to bear this in mind. This comes not as one box. It comes as 2. So the idea is that when you're pulling it out, you probably don't want to pull out these trays. You want to pull out some of these, but ideally you want to leave this one in, because otherwise you get this problem that I am literally demonstrating to you now. So as I drag this out, you will see that even though they're stored like this, if I now pull them apart, yeah, these are not fixed together. They are built like this. The idea being that one stores in there, one stores literally next door to it, and I will say this is quite a tight fitting insert, so everything's going to fit very, very snug, I will say. But now this creates kind of like its own spot, which I then need to put these guys in. So one, and hopefully, because I think, nope, these two were pretty straightforward, so in they go. But there are a couple of these. There's one in here and there's one in the other box that I'll show you in a minute. So you are going to have to bear in mind that as much as you'll take out some of these trays like I'm showing you here, there are some that you're probably just going to want to leave in the box. I mean, did I really need to extract this one box for that? Just leave it in there. So, like I say, very snug fit. So these are quite the, you're going to have to make certain that you've got it in the right place before you start crushing it down. Otherwise you'll break your insert. But once it's in there, it ain't going anywhere. I mean, you could store this vertical to your heart's content. I don't think you would have a single problem. The only hard bit is trying to remember exactly where each box went. So keep the instruction manual handy. I definitely recommend that. But there we go. And there. So yeah, some tokens, this is mainly to hold expansion miniatures. But as you can see, does a very, very good job. So that's in the Aftermath box. So you no longer need the Void Seeker box or the Carnomorph box. You can do without those. Although to be fair, they're in my storage because beautiful artwork. I hate chucking away expansion boxes when they got good artwork on it. But let's move that to the side for a bit and bring on the big one. Yes, Nemesis, the huge box. What's this holding? Well, definitely keep the instruction manuals. As I said, this came in 2 separate sets. So 2 sets of instructions. And like I say, there's a lot here. I mean, this is going to take you a long time to assemble compared to the folded space inserts. And again, not because it's fiddly, just because there's a lot. You've got to assemble a lot. So be aware of that. But here we go. Rulebook. Board on top. I have the play mat, but you know, you're going to want the board in here because it means you can store it vertically. But here we go. So let's move those out of the way. Look at that. This insert is a beauty. You have got, you know, the bag that came with it in the scanner, so they just sit on there nice and flush. You've got the little stand things here, so you know, bear in mind this is the Kickstarter that it does. So you basically put these on top of the boards. But here, again, this will easily hold sleeve cards. I just haven't got around to sleeve them yet. But it tells you how to organize them. You can organize them however you like, really. But I can say, right, here's the green items, the yellow items, the other cards. You know, these are the small cards. You've got some miniatures, but the miniatures are kind of on the bottom layer, whereas the tokens are on the top. So here, bear in mind, this is Kickstarter. So I've got the flashy little like plastic tokens and cubes. Nice little tray. Just take the tray out, put it on the side of the table. You're good. More tokens, again, just put them on the side of the table and you're good. Solo cards, keep them to the side if you're not playing solo. Nope, gotta be careful because I glue these in a specific way. So player miniatures and tokens, you can just like put them to the side. And as you can see, as I take these out, you can see why the setup is so much better. Here, you can have the doors with their little standees on. Nice and easy. The contamination cards, a separate little cubby hole for that. And then this tray is 2 separate trays for these small cards. Nice and easy. I wish we put those there. Get them in camera view. And then in here, you can see, now I think those trays are going to slide around a bit, but there you can see miniatures at the bottom. So you can see that the base set miniatures, including the giant queen and a few other guards and that, are in their own case holds here. Don't take them out of the box. Just leave the cases in there and take the miniature out when you need the miniature. Nice and straightforward. Boards, as I say, you can put the 5 little standy trays here, but all the boards, including the medic expansion, are basically on top of there. I'm going to try and keep them together as much as possible. And then down here, you have a whopping great big tray. This is all, I think, one construction. Oh, here we go, get it in camera view. One giant long tray for all the big cards, which, as I said, sleeve, not a problem. You see, loads of space. I just haven't sleeved them yet, but you'll have all the space in the world to sleeve your cards. And then in the middle, there's no case here. It's just everything's built around it in order to house the tiles for the spaceship itself. So this is a fantastic insert. I mean, all those miniatures, how were you storing them before? In baggies? I dread to think. When I got this Kickstarter, I didn't even unbox the game until I made this insert. That's how much it needed to be done. Now, of course, the hardest bit about this insert is remembering where everything goes once you do it. So keep those instruction manuals handy. But I'm going to try and see if I can do it from memory here, just to entertain you lot. So let's see, that's got to go on there. That is, oops, that's going on. Is that how that works? Oh yeah, here we go. So on there, right, cool. So the small cards went in there. So there we go. Like I say, trying to do this from memory now. Something had to go in there. I think that was more tokens. So tokens. This one was a fact tray, so I think that can slide in there. There we go. Or maybe it was meant to be this. I actually don't think it matters, to be honest, because it all stacks on top of each other anyway. But make certain the cog tokens don't make things life difficult here. Come on, I think this is right. Otherwise I'm going to have to do another edit and that will just look weird. But where is everything? That definitely goes there. There we go. That definitely goes there. There we go. So I think it's just the fact that I got to make certain that this is nice and flush and even so that this can go in. Or maybe this is meant to go in first. No, I don't think it makes any slight bit of difference. So let's put that in there. And put that there. Yeah, that's good. There we go. And then solo mode cards in there. Again, you just got to be careful with the boards. I think that's what's causing the slight issue here, making certain that the boards are flush. Because, you know, if you put these things on top, there we go. That was it. It was the medic board causing the problems. So that should slot in there nicely now. There we go. Then you can just put the contamination card and the baggie there. And then everything else, board and rulebook, sits on top. Nice. And just like the other one, box is flush. No lift. Nicely done. This is a 10 out of 10 insert. There is only one insert on this whole video that is better than this. And that's only because it all fits in one box. But obviously with this many miniatures, you're going to need 2 boxes. So definitely, if you've got the all-in Kickstarter for this, you need this insert. Hands down. This is fantastic. Seal of distinction. Get this insert if you have Nemesis. I have no regrets whatsoever. Took me a long time to assemble it. Took me a long time to put this one together into the early morning hours. So worth it.
I admire its purity.
Right, and this is kind of on par with Nemesis really, but this is, so, I mean, Nemesis is a big game, you know, massive game. You've got to use 2 boxes and it won't hold untold stories or any other terrain, 3D terrain, so there is that slight negative. This one though, I guarantee you don't just need this insert if you get the game. I highly recommend, because of the nature of the game, that you get this insert and assemble it before you play your first game. That is how good the insert Vizier Legends of Adrift system is. This is still in my collection because I need to play it a few more times. Solo, I only play this solo because I just can't see why I would want to play it with any more than 2 players anyway. But, you know, downtime much. But this insert is fantastic because I know for a fact I had things stored in baggies because the plastic insert is good for the base set, but it doesn't really cater for the expansions that well. And this will cater for Zyre, the Forsaken Embers, and the Missions Pack or whatever it was called, and the Cell Sword, whatever it was. I don't think I've got the Cell Sword. That's the one thing I don't have for this game, but I've got the other 3. So everything that's in this box, flush, no lift, so there's already a thing. But honestly, one of the things I hated most about when I brought this out for the first time was the setup. It took me forever, and that was with learning the rules as well. Setup for this is a bugbear with the base set insert and that, but this, when you have the insert, is a thing of beauty. And hopefully with the light going off there, that's not going to cause so much of a problem. But here we go. So I've done some reference sheets here, but this insert is not only pretty easy to put together, but it does everything it needs to. So here, No case, you just put the market board and all the different space tiles in one big stack with the comet. Nice and easy. You've got this massive tray here that holds big cards. I don't feel the need to sleeve anything in Zyre because the game's not going to get played enough to warrant it. So if you want to sleeve it, you've got all the space in the world. I mean, look how much space is in that mission bit there. Loads of space. So every sleeve will work for this one, really. But let's show everything else. So we've got a tray here for all the ships, and you can organize them however you like. I've tried to do big, medium, and small. Do what you like. But basically all the ships now fit in a separate tray. There is these boards. So these boards have to go kind of like in 2 even stacks. They have to go like, you know, try to show it there, but 2 even stacks. So I'm going to keep these stacks nicely together. Otherwise it doesn't work. But that's easy enough to do. Rule books. And then here we go. Remember what it was like before. Trust me on this. So big chunky box for all the standees. This box is actually not needed. It's an empty box. The whole point of it is just to fit in there as a placeholder. That's all it is. So even with all the content in this game, they've managed to find space that wasn't needed. That's pretty impressive ergonomics there. But here, the damage crystals, separate tray. In fact, you get 2 trays for them because for reasons. Don't know why you desperately needed 2 trays, but I guess it's just easier to do it that way. You've got spare cubby hold there. You want to put something in there, but you just put the dice on the other side. You've then got relics and the event tokens in one thing, so you can do that. Notice how I'm literally just pulling out a tray. That is what this thing does, and that is what this what this game needed. Just a quicker setup. Here I've got a big tray for all the different cubes that you can do if you want to do the boring aspect of this game. Seriously, why do I want to pick up and deliver cubes when I can go shoot people and explore? That's much better. But here, all the different player tokens along with their impulse tokens, nice and easy. This will cater for all the metal coins. So let me try and drag out these 2 at the same time. Oh, here we go. So big case, all the metal credits, all the exploration tokens. And then here's the best bit, these. Remember all those mods you had to do in the base set and how they were all over the place? Well, with the expansion, no more. Specific designed holes that can hold all the weird shapes securely. So as you can see, they've got little bits sticking out here that allow you to put like the T shape in there, the cross in there, and the straights in there. Same design for all of them, but to hold different tokens. Well, actually, no, there is some variation. I mean, like take this one here. It's kind of like there's an L shape there, so you can hold the long straights, the smaller long straights, and then that giant Tsurugi missile can go in there. And all of these are basically the mods and the various upgrades for your ship. But all you have to do is take these trays out. That's it. Take these trays, put them by the side of the board, you got your mods. Put the cubes, done. Players, done. Tokens, done. Ships, done. Cards, leave in the box if you want. Oh, so much easier. I cannot stress how much easier it was to bring this out for another game with this insert in. As I said, I think this insert is so essential. You should get it this is a gamble, I would admit. You know, if you've not played Zyre, you don't know if you're going to enjoy it. Buying an insert before you've played your first game is probably not the best advice here. But honestly, the setup was such a bugbear that if this insert didn't exist, I might have actually not wanted to play Zyre again if I knew I had to go through all that setup. But with this like that, it's so much easier. So simple, so quick. The insert itself is not even that difficult to make. It's a little time consuming just because there's quite a lot of trays in here, but they're mostly just rectangular boxes. These probably take the most time to do, but even then, they're not that bad. I mean, I have had more fiddly stuff in some of the other inserts I've done, but oh man, I cannot sing the praises of this insert enough. You know, just get nice little even stacks of those. In they go, nice and simple. Rule books, the various like reference things that you print off, whatever. Put the rule books on this side, it even helps. And there you go, totally flush. Oh man, this is about as good as it gets for a folded space insert. This is like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Like Spirit Island and Nemesis, Zyre joins like the top rankings for one of their best inserts. If you have Zyre and you choose not to get this insert, I hope your excuse is that you've made your own.
Subtle.
That's the only excuse I can think of. I cannot understand why you would want to have baggies or what the base insert was when you've got all the collection together, rather than get this insert. It's that good. Seal of distinction, buy it. So yeah, that's the lot. All these games, Xayah, Abyss, Barenpark, Nemesis, oh man, you name it. I've got a lot of folded space inserts now, and believe me, you've also got the other video that you can check out on my channel where I've done even more folded space inserts. I love folded space. I do have some from other companies as well, like Broken Token and eRaptor, but there's just something about these. The fact that they're easy to put together, the fact that they're cheap, and I think that's the golden thing. All the inserts will do a pretty decent job of holding stuff in place, but they can be quite expensive, particularly when they're made out of wood. But these are just foam core, or like especially that type of foam core, and that makes them cheap. The material is cheap to print, which means that you're picking up these inserts for very cheap cost, even for big stuff like Nemesis and Xayah. Yes, okay, it's still money and it's still pimping up your game effectively, but if it's a game you enjoy and the main thing that bugs you is the setup time, you can't go wrong with inserts like this. You just really can't. So this is why I get behind Folded Space, and I thank them for sponsoring this video by offering me these inserts for free. You know, take the time to put together, and it takes a while to put the video out, but yeah, you know, I love Folded Space. Thank you very much for sponsoring. I hope to get some more inserts in the future, and obviously if I do, then I will gladly do another video and showcase them for you. So I hope you found this useful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you into these inserts? Have you got them? Have they really sped up your setup? Let others know in the comments, you know, because don't take my word for it, take the view of the people as well. And are there some Folded Space inserts I've not talked about, because I don't own the game, that you want to sing the praises of? Then by all means, put them in the comments as well. That's it for me. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a thumbs up. It means the world to me to know that you appreciate the content. Don't forget that, as well as by Folded Space on this occasion, the channel is sponsored by Zatu.co.uk. So check out the code in the description, and if any of these games take your fancy, or maybe they're selling some of the inserts, go to the site and use my code in the description to get 5% discount off your entire basket, particularly if you're making a good bulk purchase. Until next time, you can check out the other Folded Space video I've done, or you can just check out one of my recent videos to date. Take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Bye for now, guys. Ta!